The most common question that I get asked all the time is, how do you monetize on social media? Because it's not views, it's not followers. I'll explain exactly what it is. I'm going to cover everything from brand deals, digital products, because only a year ago I was at my 9 to 5, grinding my way through an entry-level fashion job, wondering, is this the rest of my life? And now I recently took the leap to make content creation my full-time job. And I would only be able to do that if I made enough for it. And people that, watch my content know that I made my first 5-figure month recently, and I just had my second. I have learned so much and I've made so many mistakes. I'm here to share them with you so that you can avoid them. So just to make you aware of my stats, I have 200k followers on TikTok and I have 60k on Instagram. I do have other channels like Substack and Threads, but these ones aren't monetizable yet. So I'll talk a little bit about how I actually got here. So I was working in fashion, as I said, doing dog's body work and kind of unhappy, but I started posting content online. Now, if you told me before that I would be a TikToker, I just would have laughed at you because that's ridiculous. And I thought it was just cringy dancing videos. I didn't know that TikTok offered value. I think that there's a lot of educational content on TikTok. So I make educational content. So I may not be able to help you if you make more entertaining content. There may be another content creator that is in that area. I can only speak from my own experience, of course. And when I say educate, I don't mean that I have a massive background. The content that I create is around finance and investing, but not only that, self-improvement, fashion. These are all things that I have a personal experience of and passion for, but not a qualification in. I graduated from Nottingham Trent University in fashion management, so I don't come from a finance background. Now, when I first posted content, I got a lot of hate. Oh my God, I hope the FCA and HMRC find you. Well, they actually did and asked me to work with them. That's step one, is to stop having imposter syndrome. It is totally fine to talk about a topic that you feel passionate about, that you know a lot about. You don't have to have a PhD in it. Yes, obviously with finance, it's tricky. There are a lot of regulations and you can't give professional financial advice. You can use disclaimers and talk about your own experiences. So I would attribute the main thing that got me views and kind of traction early on, because when I posted my first ever video, it got like 50k views, and that was 5 things that I did to get ahead financially in my 20s. So I kind of blew up by accident, and I'm not saying I blew up because 50k isn't like massive, but for your first video, that makes you think, okay, I'll start making more videos then. I know that for other people in their experience, they might be stuck in low view jail where they're only getting 300 views, for example. But I have personally not experienced that. I've obviously had flops and I find it just as humbling when I flop, but I've never really dealt with having to grow in that sense. My growth has always been quite linear. I only posted on TikTok because I thought that if I posted on Instagram, friends and family would see it. Turns out everyone knows now, so it's not really much of a secret. And I was actually holding myself off to more opportunities, but in a way, I don't regret anything. Everything's happened for a reason. But yeah, I started posting on TikTok. And as I said, that first video did well. So I started posting more and more. And I realized from watching TikToks about growth and stuff like that, that you had to post like once or 3 times a day. Now, 3 times a day is a lot, but that's actually what I did for the first few months. I was really committed to it. Even though I didn't make a penny from it, I think because I didn't have the hindsight of being like, oh, I could make a lot of money from it, I just thought, this is really fun, I'm enjoying it, so let me keep going. Because it was about investing and finance, and these were topics that I didn't really feel I could talk about in person. I was actually being quite transparent, sharing like what I budgeted, how much I earned, or also my savings. That's like a massive part of my content. And I think that not everyone should share personal details. Like, if you're watching this, don't share your savings. I only do it because obviously it gets engagement, but I also feel that I can help people. If I hadn't seen finance YouTubers in the past sharing their, 500,000 portfolio, I wouldn't feel like it's possible for me to try and do the same. So I personally don't mind, but your niche could be something different. Your niche could be beauty or something like that, but you may feel inclined to share a personal experience like overcoming acne or something that's very maybe emotional that other people might feel scared to share, but you're not afraid to. So in that sense, I wasn't afraid of sharing something personal. And I think that did help me grow really quickly, because when something is very gatekept, like finance, or it's not talked about enough by women, it immediately gave me a USP and pushed me. I remember seeing that I was getting about 1,000 followers a week. So I hit 10K followers after about 3 months. Then it kind of snowballed, and I can't really remember the exact dates, but after about 6 months, I was at 50K. And then later down the line, I got to my 100K. And then after that, in the last few months, it's really snowballed into 200K and 230. To be honest, followers aren't everything. I know people that have 50K followers that make more than me. They make 30K months. Followers don't equal money. Views don't equal money. We'll talk about how views equate to money later, but that's a common misconception that I want you to let go of. The goal is obviously to get a certain amount of followers that you feel more established and you feel like you seem more trustworthy, because that is also important. But actually, there's other factors that matter more, like community. For example, when you're first growing, following people in your niche and engaging with them, commenting on all their posts. I do that still now. I go on my following and I just spam comment and encourage everyone, and I get that in return, and it's a nice reciprocity. But I really feel that is going to help you so much more. I have 230K followers, but if I see an account that's new but they have an amazing aesthetic and I can see that a couple of other people are following them but they only have like 1,000 followers, I would still follow them. That's not going to hold a bigger creator off like me from following them, because I don't believe in like hierarchy. Like, I don't think that I'm anything special. If I see someone doing something really cool, I'll follow them. So bear that in mind. It's about the value that you bring, and it's about community. If you see your friends following certain people, you're more inclined to follow them. So I would actually focus more on that, building community, almost anchoring yourself with certain people. Who are your top 3 creators and who do you want to be like, and try and emulate their style at first. Yes, you will always be copying someone at first. But when I started, I really was inspired by creators like Nisha here on YouTube or on TikTok. I'm trying to think of an example right now, but there are some personal finance, like female creators that I was really inspired by that I maybe copied slightly at the start, but then over a year's time, like I developed my own style, my own speaking pattern. Therefore, yeah, don't be afraid to steal like an artist. When something is working, that's called social proof. You can literally see why it's working, the views, and that's what a trend is. That's why people hop on trends, because they see something working. So don't be afraid to copy. Obviously, adapt it to your own story, but that's another tip that I'd recommend, is to see what's working. Don't try and reinvent the wheel. No one is 100% original, I'm telling you. Even if you think you're being original, do analytics, look at your creator search insights and see what people actually want. Why did I actually start making videos? Because that's like an interesting question. Why would I just go from not making anything at all to just straight into finance? Well, I got interested in investing at uni when my male friends were showing me their investment portfolios, and I thought, oh my God, that's really cool. It feels like this little boys club that I can't be a part of. Let me try and join. And then I went down this deep rabbit hole of like watching YouTubers like Andre Jick and like people talking about dividend stocks, and I was like, this is amazing. And that's what really kickstarted my savings journey and how I've documented saving 6 figures. So the thing that you're talking about, it does have to be something that you're interested in. You can't just like go and think what is a profitable niche right now, or like go and research niches. Like, the niche has to come from within. It has to be something that you could talk for hours about. So the way to find your niche if you're just starting out is to, one, think about something that you could ramble on about. Think about what your best friend would come to you for advice about. Think about like a really big problem that you overcame, like whether it was dealing with weight loss or I don't know, as an example. But like, you know, a lot of people in the fitness space, they do like transformations. So your niche has to be something that you could talk about for hours. And you, as I said before, you don't need a PhD in it. You just have to be very passionate and solve problems. That's all you're doing as a creator, is solving problems publicly. But yeah, I wanted to go down this whole route of being transparent because I really like that content. It's what I watch personally. And when you watch content personally, you pick up the little things like the emojis, the style, and that makes it easier to emulate and be a part of. So I wouldn't recommend just going into a niche that you haven't researched, because if you're just naturally consuming that content, you are kind of researching it without realizing it. So my strategy for the first 8 months or whatever was really growth. Like, I did not care. And that's one mistake that I made, is kind of being a bit too out there with my ideas. I was obsessed with going viral. So like, I would see it as such an achievement if a video got 1 million views. But really, is that such an achievement? Yeah, it's cool. But sometimes videos go viral for the wrong reasons. Like, a video of a politician with like something on their face could go viral because people are just talking about the thing on their face. Like, that's not an achievement. So definitely have a think about why you want to go viral. Is it for the right reasons? I have had videos get 500k views and 1 million views, but just be prepared for hate. With videos that get a lot of views, I've seen smaller creators that have like, I don't know, 1,000 followers blow up and get 50k views, and they're like, wait, this is what it's like to be an influencer. Like, you get so many mean messages, like, prepare for that. But one thing I also want to say is that doesn't equate to money. And as we'll touch on later, views don't really mean anything. Views do matter when you're justifying fees and negotiating rates. Like, you want to have a high engagement rate, but engagement also means your like to view ratio. Like, if a lot of people viewed your video but did not like it, it suggests that you're not very likable. Like, I'm not saying that you're not likable, but that's what the metrics say. I would say that I consistently made £1,000 from the Creator Fund program since like a couple of months in from joining it. Like, I made like £100 at the start, then £200, and it slowly went up because I was focused on getting those high engagement videos, but it definitely did backfire. Like, I had a meme that was made about me saying that I only eat eggs and bread, and now that's spread across Instagram. I have no control over it. So be wary about what you put out there, because it can just be stuck out there. And the thing is, I don't really mind because I think that all publicity is good publicity, but in the end, it's sometimes just not worth it. And if you're trying to cultivate an elevated brand image, it could damage it. So let's break down the different income streams, because as a creator, I definitely have more than 7+ income streams. I don't think as a creator or content creator that you can just rely on one thing like brand deals. I think you have to diversify, because these things are really fickle, and it's not the same as working a 9-to-5 while answering to a boss. Like, you have to perform. In this, I'm going to break down what it is, how to earn, and my best tips for beginners. Okay, so my first point is getting paid from ad revenue. So most people would just call this getting paid from views. So essentially on platforms like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, you can get paid or ad revenue. For TikTok, I know the process, I went through it. You have to have 10k followers. There's certain other requirements, like you have to have a certain view count in the last 30 days and all of that. I would say that if you have high engagement and you are skilled as a content creator, you won't find it difficult to hit this in 3 or 4 months, I would say. Please don't get offended by that. I really feel that a lot of these things aren't based on luck. Some of them are, but other times there is a lot of mechanics that go behind a video and why it performs well. So I'm humble enough to say that when my video flops, I know why it flops and I can reiterate it. So the TikTok one is called the TikTok Creator Reward Program, and for me, I'll give you an example. Some months I get like 1 million views, and this could equate to £1,000 British. But this is on videos that are posted over a minute long. So I don't earn on carousels. I don't earn on shorter videos than a minute. So, it does limit you as a creator. I could not live off £1,000, of course, because I live in London. So it is just one source of revenue, right? So you get these things called RPMs, and these are revenue per mil, or revenue per mil, I'm not sure. But if you have higher engagement, or people watch your videos for longer, people are just more engaged with your videos, your RPM will be higher. This is why some creators might get the same view count, but others might earn less. It's because their RPM is different. But my tips for beginners are, what I personally did is really focused on video. I know that other creators focus on carousels, and carousels are great for growth. That 60-second videos is the sweet spot. 30 seconds, you're being really snappy and you may not get your point across. And any longer than that, you might be rambling. So try and stick to a minute or 2 minutes. And naturally, this means that you can also monetize. I am pretty sure to my memory that I got my first brand deal, which was Plum. And I think I got this at around 10k followers, or maybe less. But brands will work with you when you have a smaller follower count, but be prepared to be lowballed. I'm just saying. So when I first started doing brand deals, I was getting like £200 or £300, which looking back now is quite small, but you've got to start somewhere. The more you do, the more it'll be apparent that you can work with brands. Just turning them all down because you're expecting 4 figures is not very realistic. I think at the start, you're going to have to compromise a bit and earn £100 here, £200 there. That's what I did for many, many months. And eventually people would tell me that I'm undercharging, and then I was like, got to switch things up. But now, do you need to set up a whole website for your portfolio? I would say at the start, no. Your social media is your portfolio. That talent manager or partnerships manager is looking directly at your socials. I would say if you don't have a business email, probably better you do get one. I don't have one, but put your email in your bio. The only reason I don't is because I get really annoying spam, and I think if a brand really wants to contact me, they can run through the hoops to try and find me. But I would say if you're starting out and you want brand deals, like I'm trying to escape because I have too many, but if you want brand deals, put your email in your bio, please. The partnerships manager is not gonna like hunt for your email. If you haven't done many partnerships, they'll just go with someone else. Make sure you're presentable, have clean and clear images, film your videos in front of a window. I mean, I'll talk about all the different things later, but when I first started, my profile looked like this. Why was I using the default cover text? Like it looks, I don't know, it looks bad. But that does also prove that you don't need fancy editing. You don't need a fancy cover. You just need good lighting and a good topic that you're talking. There's two different ways that brands can find you or you can find them. One is inbound. So this is where the brand contacts you. It could be via DM. So I recommend always looking through your requests. Be careful of scammers though. I have an incredibly hot take that's probably going to annoy some people. I don't believe in cold outreach. I think it's like kind of a waste of time. I think if your content is really, really good and you're skilled at making content, brands will find you. I know that sounds number one big-headed and also like, I don't know. I know some people are just not going to like that. It's very low leverage to do all of that email each time. Like it's basically like applying for jobs or making a high-performing video the brands can find and then you can have 10 brands email you. That is just a lot more high leverage. In my time doing content, which is over a year now, I've only done 1 or 2 brands that I've found through outreach. So yes, you can find another creator that talks more about outreach, cold DMs, pitches, and that's great. And you can get work through that. I know that a lot of freelancers or UGC creators do that. But for someone that you'll have your own personal page, I think that if you're very strategic and you upskill and you increase the quality of your videos, brands will find you. You don't need to cold email a load of brands. That's just my opinion. But there are certain ways that you can phrase an email. I think the easiest way is to make it really clear, first thing, what you offer. Share your insights, your followers, are they 70% female? Give as much detail as you possibly can and make it really easy so that partnerships manager can just be like, okay, yeah, this is just an easy one for me. You could use something like Rocket Reach to find people's emails. Or you can go on LinkedIn and type in, if it's a brand you want to work with, Coca-Cola partnerships manager. Okay, that's a bad example because obviously there'd probably be a lot of those. But if it's a smaller company, it'll probably come right up on LinkedIn. And what you want to do is just go and search like, what is the generic email for that company? If it's at coca-cola.com, then you can just put that person's first and last name or guess their email formatting, and hopefully you'll reach that person that way. So how do views and followers impact rates? As I mentioned before, they don't matter in terms of like your clout, like no one actually cares. But in terms of negotiating your rates, obviously you can charge more if you have more followers, but you won't be able to get a higher rate if you've got high followers but really low engagement. So I'll give you an example. At the moment I have 230k followers and I can charge, depending on the brand or the size of the company, from £2,000 to like 5,000. And if it's a really massive company, I would obviously try and push for more. But then you have different things. So if you're a creator, you need to be charging for usage rights. Organic usage is where you are just posting it on your page, but paid usage where they put a budget behind the video. So one brand deal I did was like, they gave me £700, but I know they boosted it like a lot because it got 1 million views. I know that it costed a lot to boost it to 1 million. So this is like, I was naive and I didn't realize how much I could charge, but you should be charging a lot for paid usage. Exclusivity, paid usage, whitelisting, all of these things you should be charging for. If they ask for your rates, judge the kind of size of company, what the deliverables are. I'll give you an example. A brand approached me recently asking for how much would it cost to do like 2 UGC deals like on different platforms. They didn't want exclusivity, but they wanted some newsletter featuring and everything. I did like a whole cost analysis and it actually came to 13,000. So yeah, I've been on a massive journey. I started by making £200 of brand deals and now I can get paid 2,000. So really, it is a long journey and you're not going to see instant results. It's something that you have to graft at. Number 3 is affiliate marketing. This one gets misunderstood. Some people think it's a scam. It's really not. There's a lot of faceless accounts making content about it, so that's probably why. Affiliate marketing is where you have a link, you promote a product. When someone uses that link, you get commission. Now, commission could be split 2 ways. It could be percentage based, so you get 5%, 10%, 20% of the sale of the revenue, or it could be a fixed fee. So I, with some platforms, am signed up with like £10 or £20. But when someone uses my link and they follow through with the terms and conditions, I then get that bonus. From affiliate marketing, I could make anywhere between like £1,400 to £2,000. It really does depend. The key thing here is you need a link in bio. If you don't have a link in bio as a creator, what are you doing? No, I'm just kidding. But you should be considering it. If it's a link tree, which is completely free, just do it right now. Open a link tree, it takes 2 minutes. Or Stan Store, which I love. It's like $30 a month. I'm still on the free trial, but I'm really enjoying it. There's things where you can just set up an automation. Things like automations where if someone comments a word, it can then DM the person with a link. It just makes everything so much more streamlined. Prior to that, I was using Linktree and Gumroad. And with Gumroad, I made a fair bit, like $800, but the fees are quite high. So they would take 30% of the final fee. Whereas with Stan Store, you just have a set amount. So I realized if I was making a lot of money from it, it would make more financial sense to go with Stan Store. My tips for affiliate marketing is to blend it in organically. I talk a lot about investment platforms that I use, but I do so because I actually use them. They are organic to me. Therefore, I don't have to come across as too salesy. Most popular affiliate platforms that I use are Arwin, Partnerize, and what's the other one? Impact. Now, if you download these apps right now, you're not just going to suddenly get started with affiliate marketing. It doesn't really work like that. Usually the brand will email you and set you up with a link and set you up on the platform. So you can't just go and download those apps and get started. I know that with Arwin, for example, you can connect your socials and you can have a look at what brands are on there. In fact, the one example of cold outreach I did is I reached out to a beauty brand and then I got invited to an event and got free PR. So it's definitely worth doing a bit of outreach on there, and you can just literally ask to connect with retailers. Number 4 is user-generated content. This is where a brand approaches you to, or you approach the brand to make a video that they will post on their page. Now, the best part about this is you don't have to worry about becoming too salesy on your own channels. Like if I don't want to promote a product, I might offer to the brand that I could do UGC for them so that I don't have to like promote it on my own page. And that's the whole point of user-generated content. They want it because they want organic and highly engaging content for their page. I paid as brand deals because the brand is paying for your platform, your followers, your audience. But UGC, you can still get quite a bit. If you want my advice, don't do anything for less than £100 or £200 because if you think about it, yes, that might be more than you're earning currently at your 9 to 5. Like I was on £12 an hour last year. Like I get it. It can seem tempting. But if you think about it, you are doing the back and forth over email. You're then filming it, which could take an hour or 2. You're then editing it. You're doing the voiceovers. You then may have some back and forth with the editing, like rewrites. So therefore, you know, £100 for the amount of hours that you're working, if it's much better than the financial position that you're already in, sure, by all means try it out, but don't get too accustomed to working for lower rates because in the industry, these are seen as lower rates. I've done UGC for like £50. And looking back now, I was totally being taken advantage of. I was naive and didn't know what I should be charging because even though it's not posted on your page, that brand is making a lot from it. They're running ads with it. They can do whatever they want with it. And make sure you're really aware when you sign the contract that there's no in perpetuity rights. And what that means is that they can use it forever, which is insane. So make sure you read contracts really carefully and obviously get a lawyer if you need to. My best advice for starting with UGC is to just start posting content. I know you're thinking, what the hell, Mia? Like, that's so obvious. I mean, start posting the content that you want to make as UGC. So if you want to start working with, an electrolytes brand, get some electrolytes and, you know, use them in a day in the life or use them explain the benefits of them, do different styles, do an unboxing, create a UGC portfolio with Canva, which is completely free. I'll show you a little example of mine. But yeah, I'd really recommend starting to post content that is marketable as UGC and then making a portfolio. You don't have to have worked with brands to make that portfolio. You can use your own personal examples. Number 5 is digital products. This is one of my favorite ones, but it's one that I've made the least in because I haven't had the time in the last year. But now that I've left my 9 to 5, it's definitely a focus for me. But digital products, again, people think these are a little bit scammy. These include courses, ebooks, downloadable PDFs. They will be willing to pay for that information. You know, we don't stop and think, oh, why are we buying books? People still buy books. It's just information. The only time it's scammy is if you just use ChatGPT to write it. So really focus on trying to create the content that you make in your videos, trying to translate that value into other forms. The upside of this is if you can really graft at it, you can eventually make more than you could potentially make from brand deals. Now, I'm not going to speak from experience here because obviously brand deals is where I make the most money, but my goal is to eventually replace the brand deal income with this because this is totally within my control as opposed to the brand deals where you're basically working for another boss. I highly recommend you check out the YouTuber, podcaster, Dan Coe. He is my biggest inspiration for all of my content. I don't know if you can probably tell from my channel that I'm trying to emulate a little bit of his style, but definitely go and check him out because he makes a lot of videos about monetizing online. He has been the biggest inspiration for me, and if I could attribute my success to one person recently, it's definitely him. I would say my biggest advice is put out a minimum viable product. Don't put out just something really bad. But I just mean, if you have something that you don't quite feel is perfect, put it out because you are going to iterate on it. Think about your favorite fashion brand or something. They have samples, they have first collections, then they build on it, they change the style slightly. You need to put something out so that you can get feedback. If people think it's crap, that gives you the ideas to improve it. And one thing that I want to mention here with digital products, because it's kind of related, is having an email newsletter. This is something that I only implemented in the last few months, but it is essential because if your favorite social media platform disappeared overnight, how would you get in touch with your followers? You need to have a way of getting in touch with your followers, with your community, without the need for posting on social media all the time. This is a way to transcend the label of just being a content creator. You are then a community, you're a writer. These are two things that you're technically doing when you have a newsletter. So please think about doing this. You can start a free newsletter with something like Substack. I started using Beehive. I love the interface. I made a website with it. I just bought a domain with GoDaddy and I linked it. I think this is key. And also you can collect emails by, like I said, having a lead magnet, giving away a free product in exchange for someone's email. And as I said, you can do this with something like Standstore, which I have a link for down below. Views do not equal money. And after hearing about all of those different income streams, you can clearly see that it's not just views, it's just so many different other things. So someone that has 100k followers, 500k followers, or 1 million will still maybe be working a 9 to 5. It doesn't automatically mean that you have financial freedom. Some creators, when I talk to them, say that a smaller audience is actually sometimes more valuable than a larger one. What brands are really looking for right now is a concentrated set of people. So if you have 3,000 followers, but all of them are women or all of them are aged 18 to 35, that is just as valuable as someone with 10k subscribers that has the same demographic in those percentages. So something that I wanted to touch on is what not to do, because there's a lot of pitfalls that you could potentially fall in. So number 1 is scams. I get so many like AI note-taking, like ChatGPT wrapper app things. Email me. I say no to all of them. I delete. Well, no, I don't even say no because then they know my email's active. I delete them, block them. Don't do anything that just does not look quite right. I once had an email from someone pretending to be from Lush Cosmetics offering me £6,000 in free products. If it seems too good to be true, it likely is. And I'd say the biggest thing that I've learned is do your due diligence. These people prey on desperation, so I wouldn't recommend having content creation as your only source of income if you are not financially stable or financially there yet. I would say don't quit your job before you've got everything else in place. As mentioned before, there are some contracts and red flags. Now, if a brand asks you for exclusivity, there's nothing bad or nothing wrong with this, but you have to make sure that you're charging them. The way that I work it out is I think about the opportunity cost. If I work with this brand and I'm not allowed to work with any other brands in the space, I have to work out on a usual monthly basis how much am I getting from these other brands. If it's like £4,000, I'm charging for that, because how can you expect me not to post about these other brands and just accept a lower rates? Like, no, we're including that. And often you'll see as you increase the price of exclusivity, they will drop the amount of months that they want it for. So that's a really key thing. Another thing that I wanted to touch on very briefly is taxes. Now, I made a video recently actually with HMRC themselves. You have to pay tax on your side hustle income. So you have to pay tax on content creation. Even if you just think it's, £100 here and there, if you've made more than £1,000 in a single tax year from side hustles, you have to register with HMRC. I'm not trying to give you tax advice. I would advise that you go and look at their own website to learn more about it. Therefore, tracking your invoices, tracking your expenses, how much you've got in, so that you can complete a tax return. Another mistake that I made is saying yes because I wanted the money. It's just silly. And I think that if you're going to build an authentic personal brand, you need to be having some integrity and some values. And I always had that. Like, for example, I'd turn down those note-taking apps, or I'd turn down fast fashion. Like, I still have Shein and Temu emailing me every day and I say no each time. So yes, I did always have values, but there was a couple brand deals where I wasn't quite sure. Although I take accountability, I'm not going to be too hard on myself because I am just starting out. I had to learn these things from experience, but I would say that if you are starting out, don't just think, okay, it's £4,000. Yes, it might be £4,000. Is that worth potentially missing out on higher paying brands in the future because they don't want to work with you because of controversy? So just make sure you're always sticking to your values, whatever that may be. It may be that you don't want to work with brands that aren't cruelty free if you're beauty influencer. Another mistake I made is chasing views instead of building a brand. Once I started building Frugal Chic and I started to have a brand identity, let me just tell you guys, my opportunities skyrocketed. I am getting asked onto podcasts left, right, and center. I'm getting gifted like cookware sets, like just, you couldn't even name the amount of opportunities I've had in the last month. It's more than I've had in my life. But that is because I've started to focus on building a highly profitable brand instead of just posting videos. Obviously at the start, and if you're watching this, you maybe are at the start, it's all about posting videos that growing and getting high engagement, and that's the path that I followed. So I don't regret anything, but that whole trying to chase virality, what actually helped me is building a community, building high quality content and building a brand, and trying to be a bit more selective. So I think inevitably I am going to get some questions about the 5-figure month type thing. If you want to check out my income breakdowns, I've done a couple on my TikTok, so I'd recommend checking those out. Building on long form too, having a YouTube channel, even if you don't really post much on it. Also investing back in the equipment. Like when I started, I literally had my phone taped to my childhood bedroom window. It was like very low production value and I still got views. But if I hadn't made the next step to invest in a tripod, to invest in a good microphone, yes, you have to eventually make those investments. So the last point that I want to make is you have to treat this like a business. You think that treating it like a business, it will lose its integrity, its authenticity. It's actually the opposite. When you treat it like a business, you will only make the right decisions that bring longevity to the business, that, keep the authenticity, because the authenticity is what got you the views and is what got you consistent. And if you lose that, then you lose money. So you have to be thinking about it like a business. So my advice to new creators is start with one thing. Start with trying to get your views up. Start with improving your content. Just some quick fire things that I would always make sure you have is film in front of a window. Always film in daylight. Don't try and use those fancy clip-on lights. They just don't look very good. So if you're new to the creator economy and you found this useful and you want more information, just leave a comment below. I'll be happy to answer it. If you enjoyed this video, definitely subscribe so you don't miss out on further videos, and check out frugalchic.co.uk for my newsletter.